This is the original gearbox mount, and as you can see, it's in quite bad condition. The rubber has started to deteriorate and it's started to rust. You can also see that rubber has sagged because of the weight of all the years. So we're going to replace this. You can buy a new one like this for about £140, or you can buy a competition version for about £120. Now, I'm going to make my own competition version, quite similar to the way I made the engine mounts, but we're going to start by measuring this to make sure that we have all the dimensions that we need to build the new ones. Then we're going to drill out all the spot welds so we can reuse some of the plates. That will make my job quite a bit easier. So I'll give you a quick run through to what I want to build. So this is the original gearbox mount. I drilled out all of the spot welds and I removed this top carriage with the rubber blocks in it. So we can throw this away. So this is the bottom part that connects to the gearbox. So we're going to reuse this because it already has the correct dimensions and the connecting holes are already in the right place. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just use this. I just cleaned this up a little bit. So what you see here are polyurethane bushes in a steel housing. And this is the housing, the bushes, and of course a stainless steel sleeve. This is a piece of steel studding. It's 3/8. So these sketches are all the dimensions that I wrote down after I made all of the measurements of the original gearbox mount. I took all of these measurements and all of these dimensions, and then I made a quick sketch, a 3D sketch of what I want the new gearbox mount to look like. Then I used Google SketchUp and I made some printouts of all the different plates that we'll need to build this. We're going to use these paper templates to cut out all the steel parts that we'll need. So I'm going to set everything up and I'll show you how I use these paper templates to cut out the steel parts. And then we can mock the complete mount up. So this is a piece of 3mm thick steel. I've cleaned the paint off a little bit. So now we can take our templates and we can try to align them which suits us best. So this is probably quite okay. So this should be enough to keep our templates in place. And now we just make some cuts along the lines that I've drawn out. You can also see that I've made a cross in the center. This is the center point of the cross where the steel bushing needs to go in. So I'm going to use a center punch and punch a hole into the center, maybe drill a small hole just to make sure that I've got the center of the hole aligned correctly. Now I'm just going to use a jigsaw, cut the steel plates out, and then we can mock everything up. All the different pieces have been cut out and shaped, and I've quickly assembled everything to show you what the end result will look like. So this is the original base plate all cleaned up, 2 new side pieces, and of course the main brackets for the steel housings. I've used some washers just to make up a small spacer between the 2 polyurethane bushes, and of course the stud in the center. So it consists of 2 main brackets which hold the 2 housings, and 2 small side pieces to support a little more lateral loads, and of course the main bracket that will bolt to the gearbox. So now I'll quickly disassemble everything so you can see all the individual parts. So now I'm going to mock everything up again, try to fit it up to the gearbox and the chassis to make sure all of the dimensions are correct. When I'm fine with the dimensions, then I'll tack everything up, and I'll show you what it looks like in its stacked condition, and then we'll weld it completely and we'll have a complete gearbox mount. I've tacked the top section together, so this is one piece now, and there's the bottom. So I did this in two pieces because if I weld all this together, it's very difficult to reach all of the joints. So I'm going to weld all of these small pieces together to make this one section, and then I'll weld it to the base plate. This will make it quite a lot easier for me to weld. But this is the base structure. This is the gearbox mount that I fabricated. Now it's painted in 2K black, satin black. It's the same paint that I used for the engine mounts, etc. It looks quite nice. There's some problems on the edges, but that was my fault because the paint wasn't completely dry when I put it in a bag to store it. I only noticed this afterwards, but it's okay. This is the rod that goes to the center of the bushes. Of course, 2 polyurethane bushes, 2 stainless sleeves, and a stainless spacer to go in between the bushes. Some Superflex assembly lube, so some polyurethane grease. We'll start off by lubing these bushes, putting these in place, then installing both stainless sleeves. The gearbox mount completely finished. 2 polyurethane bushes with a stainless spacer in the middle and a new rod. So this part will attach to the gearbox and this part will attach to the chassis. It will slide in like this, and it still is the same principle as the original one, just a lot stiffer, and this will mean that the gearbox won't move, therefore the rear suspension won't move, and we'll try to eliminate all the rear steer that there is in the original setup. I'll show you what this looks like mounted to the gearbox, and you'll see it when we install the engine and gearbox into the chassis. Now you've seen how I made this competition style gearbox mount. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to know more about this, you can visit my blog, where there's a completely written explanation with a lot of photographs on the gearbox mount and all of the other parts of the restoration. You can also subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any of the upcoming videos, and I hope I'll see you next time. Goodbye.